The movie opens 20 years ago in Washington with a child walking towards a cabin in the woods alongside his father. His father looks around as if he is being watched. He says nothing to not panic his son, and continues walking. Later that night, the father wakes his son up and hides him. As a group of men invade the cabin, the boy watches as the leader forces his father to roll a pair of dice to determine his fate. When his father rolls a pair of snake eyes, the kid tries to interfere but is overpowered by the men, causing the father to distract them as the kid flees. When he reaches a safe distance, he witnesses the men shooting his father dead and setting the cabin on fire, leaving him there staring at the house with bloody rage. 2 decades later, the child, now known as Snake Eyes, participates in an underground competition, which he ultimately triumphs in. Following his fight, a man named Kenta Takamura approaches him in the locker room. Kenta, who had been scouting Snake Eyes for some time, is impressed with his fighting abilities and tries to recruit him. And although he declines initially, he eventually agrees when Kenta offers to assist him in locating his father's murderers. After 4 weeks, Snake Eyes arrives at a dock in Los Angeles for work. He greets his friend Tommy and is walked to his workstation. While it looks like he is a fish cutter, his true occupation is a gun smuggler. His friend summons him on their boss's behalf. It transpires that they are members of the Yakuza, and as Kenta walks in, he believes Tommy is a traitor. Kenta then instructs Snake Eyes to kill Tommy. However, Snake Eyes and Tommy exchange a glance and so he doesn't shoot him. A brawl breaks out, and Kenta manages to escape in a truck, leaving Snake Eyes and Tommy to fight their way out of the warehouse. Tommy spots Kenta boarding a ship and attempts to attack him, but their fight is cut short by the arrival of too many Yakuza, allowing Kenta to flee. Snake Eyes and Tommy only escape the Yakuza with the help of the police, but Snake Eyes is injured in the process. Later, he wakes up on Tommy's jet and discovers that they are en route to his house. When he asks why Snake Eyes spared his life, he admits that he couldn't bring himself to kill Tommy after seeing the honor in his eyes. Tommy reveals that he and Kenta are cousins and were both heirs to their clan's leadership. However, Kenta tried to murder him, forcing him to banish Kenta. Since then, his cousin has been plotting to seize control of the clan. As Snake Eyes has assisted Tommy, he is now on his hit list. After some time, they reach Tommy's house in Tokyo, Japan. When they reach the dojo, Tommy introduces Snake Eyes to Akiko, his chief of security, and Sen, Tommy's grandmother and the leader of the Arashikage clan. Senator expresses her gratitude to Snake Eyes for saving Tommy's life, but he claims that he does not require anything in return. Nevertheless, Tommy has different intentions. He desires Snake Eyes to join their clan. Though Akiko is hesitant about admitting a stranger, Tommy wants a warrior like Snake Eyes by his side, someone he can entrust his life to so that the clan can continue its responsibility as the protectors of the Japanese government. Additionally, Akiko should be aware since she, too, was once an outsider to them. Later, Tommy informs Snake Eyes that it is his choice to undertake the dangerous challenge and complete the 3 trials to enter the clan. Tommy escorts him to his quarters and instructs him to make himself at home. Afterwards, Snake Eyes trains with the other recruits, and Tommy observes. Despite his progress, Akiko remains cautious of him since her security checks produce no results. While Tommy is unconcerned, Akiko is convinced that admitting Snake Eyes was a mistake. Tommy confronts Akiko for questioning his judgment, but she believes that Tommy trusted him too easily. Regardless, Tommy believes that the first trial will determine if he is worthy. The following day, Snake Eyes participates in his trial, where he meets the Heart Master and Blind Master, who will educate him on how to live and battle in the Arashikage customs. They preach the importance of abandoning one's ego, striking with honor, and embracing selflessness and truthfulness to achieve harmony. Shortly thereafter, the Heart Master tells him he will fail and assigns the first task. He fills 2 bowls with water and gives one to Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes must try and take the bowl out of the Heart Master's hand without spilling his own bowl, and he has 4 chances to do so. Snake Eyes fails his first attempt miserably. The second attempt has the same outcome, and so does the third. As everyone doubts him and think he will fail, he looks at his bowl and simply asks the Heart Master if he may exchange their bowls. After accepting, Snake Eyes passes his first trial. During dinner, Snake Eyes learns that Tommy is the last of his bloodline and believes he is meant to lead the clan. However, to adapt to modern times, he requires formidable warriors such as Snake Eyes to fight alongside him. Despite the discussion, Snake Eyes can't help but notice the Heart Master watching him. He tells Akiko about it, and she reassures him that Blind Master is the one keeping a watchful eye on him and can tell if someone lies. Later that night, Snake Eyes takes one of Tommy's motorcycles and rides to the bathhouse, where he meets with Kenta. It becomes apparent that they had planned this from the start, that saving Tommy's life was a tactic to gain his trust, but he wants out because he feels that he's the only one fulfilling their agreement. Kenta convinces him to stay by offering him the dice owned by his father's murderers. However, Snake Eyes requires Kenta to act quickly before he must complete his trials. Kenta tells him to steal the Jewel of the Sun, a priceless emblem of the Arashikage clan, and in return he'll give Snake Eyes the name of his father's killer. The following day, Tommy coincidentally says the myth of the Jewel of the Sun to Snake Eyes. It is said to contain the power of the sun, and the Arashikage pledged to protect it and never use its power. Only he and his grandmother have the access to it. Following this, Tommy presents Snake Eyes with a gift for completing his first trial, a sword named Morning Light. Sometime later, Snake Eyes searches the woods for the Jewel of the Sun and discovers a heavily guarded building. Akiko reveals herself to him and asks what he's doing. Snake Eyes claims he's training and Akiko invites him to her dojo to spar. During their sparring session, Tommy calls for them and says that he has discovered Kenta's new gun trafficking operation and intends to shut it down. Snake Eyes offers to assist him. Later that night, Tommy, Snake Eyes, and Akiko launch an assault on the smugglers. Akiko and Tommy eliminate the Yakuza men outside, while Snake Eyes takes down the smugglers inside. They successfully dismantle the entire operation. However, they are unable to capture Kenta, who overpowers Tommy before making his escape. They learn that Kenta collaborated with Cobra and stockpiled weapons to prepare for a war with their clan. They contact Scarlet from the G.I. Joes, informing her of their discovery. Scarlet discloses that the top-level Cobra operative responsible for bombings worldwide, Baroness, is in Japan. Suspecting this to be more than a coincidence, Scarlet begins making her way there. Later that night, Snake Eyes sneaks out to the town once again. Akiko follows him, but he manages to evade her and goes underground to meet Kenta. He informs Kenta that he doesn't want to work with terrorists, but before he can leave, the Baroness appears, proving that Kenta is working with Cobra. Although Snake Eyes insists on leaving, the Baroness reveals that she has the murderer of Snake Eyes' father and gives him 3 days to reconsider his position or she will release the killer. In the following scene, Blind Master and Snake Eyes proceed with the second test, which he must complete alone in the woods. Blind Master presents a small light for him to follow. The light leads him to the night of his father's death. Though he tries to save his father, he is unable to do so. He apologizes to his dad, but the response is that he is happy that Snake Eyes survived. Moments later, the vision ends. Snake Eyes asks Blind Master if he failed, but Blind Master explains that this is not a pass or fail test. It is a test to confront one's weaknesses and overcome them before the third test, or else he will die. While contemplating his loyalty, Snake Eyes discovers the murderer's dice is a fake. He tries to break into the house containing the artifact, but he triggers the sensors, alerting Akiko. She confronts him about his suspicious movements and advises him to empty his heart, warning him that it will make him fail the third test. He convinces her that he is determined to be a member of the clan. The next day, he takes the third test, which involves going down a pit and stepping on a tile to activate it. This releases giant anacondas that will only attack those who are impure of heart. Despite attempting to empty his heart, he fails the test and is attacked by the anacondas. However, Akiko comes to his rescue and helps him escape. Later, he confesses to the clan that his heart was impure because his desire is for revenge for his father's death. As a result, Sen allows him to leave alive. Disappointed, he returns to his quarters and encounters Tommy, who is upset that he had lied. Snake Eyes apologizes and offers to make it up to him. In a show of trust, he cuts his hand with the Morning Light sword and offers to shake hands with Tommy, which he accepts. That night, Snake Eyes deceives Tommy and Akiko into revealing the location of the jewel. He waits for them to leave, and then uses Tommy's blood to open the safe and take the artifact. Akiko is there and tries to stop him, but he defeats her and escapes. Upon the other members learning of his treachery, Tommy vows to retrieve the artifact and the head of Snake Eyes. The next day, Snake Eyes gives the jewel to Kenta and decides not to be part of the fight. Kenta kills one of his men with the stone to display its power and promises to give it to the Baroness after destroying the clan. As Kenta and his crew leave, Snake Eyes confronts his father's killer and forces him to roll the same dice that killed his father. The man reveals that he killed Snake Eyes' father on Cobra's orders. Realizing he's been used, he frees the man and goes after Kenta. As he heads back to the clan's location, Tommy and Akiko track him down. However, as they chase him, they quickly realize Kenta's men are after them, and Snake Eyes does an insane trick shot on their enemy. This immediately causes a fight on the highway. Using his skills, he manages to take out a carload of enemies and jumps onto a cargo truck waiting for the approaching men. While Kenta leads his army and holds the jewel, they obliterate everything in sight. Simultaneously, Snake Eyes and his comrades engage in battle with Kenta's troops on the highway. Eventually, Snake Eyes and Tommy fight each other, but he persuades him to assist their allies at the castle. As they make their way towards the castle, their clan is battling Kenta and his troops. The Heart and Blind Master launch a fierce attack, annihilating their enemies. Scarlet joins the fray but is later captured alongside Tommy's grandmother. Nevertheless, Kenta double-crosses Baroness by not giving her the stone as promised. Kenta attempts to coerce Sen into submission and resorts to violence when his demands are not met. However, Snake Eyes' timely arrival serves as a distraction. Meanwhile, Sen, Scarlet, and Baroness agree to work temporarily to save themselves, while Tommy and the Masters engage in a confrontation with Kenta's army. Subsequently, the women encounter Snake Eyes, and with the help of the Arashikage, they triumph over Kenta's forces. After killing the remaining soldiers, Kenta uses the stone to protect himself. However, while Baroness flees the scene, the Arashikage use fireworks as a tactic to make Kenta lose the stone. Tommy seizes the stone and uses it in a fit of rage against Kenta, but Sen eventually takes possession of it. Snake Eyes follows Kenta through the woods. During their battle, Kenta inflicts an injury on him. However, he manages to lure Kenta into the pit filled with snakes using an iron chain. The anacondas devour him upon sensing the malevolence in his heart. Although the snakes initially pose a threat to him, they eventually release Snake Eyes upon realizing that his heart is no longer consumed by a desire for vengeance. After the jewel is secured, Sen states that Tommy can never lead the clan since he used the jewel to attack Kenta. Fuming with rage at the loss of his birthright, Tommy departs but vows to eliminate Snake Eyes when they next meet. In the concluding scenes, Snake Eyes says to Akiko that he must track down Tommy. Before he leaves, Akiko gifts him a black suit. Shortly after, Scarlet discloses to Snake Eyes that his father was a Joe and was slain while infiltrating a Cobra cell but managed to save countless lives. Scarlet then invites Snake Eyes to join the G.I. Joes once he is prepared. However, Snake Eyes resolves to locate Tommy first. He puts on his new dark suit and takes off. Meanwhile, Baroness has recruited Tommy, who has now adopted the name Snowstorm, and to be Snake Eyes' newest adversary. And that was a recap of the movie Snake Eyes. Make sure you subscribe and like, and as always, thank you.